really gets down to it, what the woke stuff is, when you talk about the identity politics or the oppression theory, it's very similar to anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is an interesting thing. If you look at anti-Semitism from a Marxist perspective, the phenomenon of hating Jewish people in Europe, often what it really was the ruling class racializing and weaponizing the resentment of the working class against the middle class, right? The stereotype of Jews is that they are middle class, and the working class generally does not see the bourgeoisie. Rockefeller doesn't walk through our neighborhoods. The Carnegies and the DuPont don't walk through our neighborhoods. But if you're a factory worker, the lawyer who lives down the street, or the shopkeeper who owns a store in your neighborhood, you see them. And working class people and middle class people often have a different perspective on things. For example, what's one of the anti-Semitic stereotypes about Jews is that they're cheap with money. That's one of the stereotypes that's perpetuated. Well, one thing that is a difference between working class life and middle class life is that a working class person, they probably have less money than a middle class person, but they get a wage. They get a paycheck every 2 weeks. So when they have money, they can spend it. Whereas a middle class person might have more money, but it all goes back into their business. So even though they have more money, they're going to be tighter with it because they own their own business. And so a working class person might look at a middle class person and say, what a cheap bastard. I get paid every 2 weeks. What is going on here? He's got way more than me, but he's so tight with his money. That's how the anti-Semitic stereotypes were promoted. Working class people tend to be more socially conservative. Middle class folks tend to be a little bit more open-minded. And if one looks at, in Asia, in the Pacific Islands, the stereotypes about middle class folks of ethnic Chinese heritage is very similar to the anti-Semitic stereotypes that proliferated throughout Europe. And it's a similar kind of thing. It is weaponizing working class resentment against the middle class, which is easy to do because you can see the middle class and you can't see those who really have the power. And what wokeism is very similar. Because wokeism is telling you don't hate the ruling class, don't hate the billionaires, don't hate the monopolies, hate the person who's got it slightly better than you. Hate the person who's got 5% more than you, or 10% more than you. And not only that, it's not really offering any solutions. Wokeism isn't about offering solutions. It's just about giving you permission to be angry. Aren't you upset about it? Aren't you angry? And it's about stoking up that rage and that hate and just stoking it up and not offering any real solutions. Just stoking up anger and resentment. And that's what wokeism is. It is an attempt to set the stage for some kind of degrowth fascism by weaponizing people's resentment against people who might have it slightly better and taking the onus off the system itself, and also through spiraling into a cycle of rage and not bringing people together to offer real solutions. That's what the ruling class is doing. Now, that said, recognizing that wokeism is the main danger, that doesn't mean that I'm going to unite with the right on everything or anything, really. If someone comes to me and they say that the Chinese Communist Party and Joe Biden are involved in a secret plot against our precious bodily fluids, I'm going to tell them they're wrong. And if someone comes to me and says, well, the solution to the crisis of mass migration is to terrorize immigrant communities with raids, I'm going to tell them they're wrong. If somebody comes to me and says police brutality is made up, it's a conspiracy against white cops, I'm going to tell them they're wrong. However, if someone says that socialism is just an employee stock ownership program, I'm also going to tell them that they're wrong. And if someone says that anyone who dares oppose the war drive against Russia and China should be equated with the Nazis, I'm going to tell them they're wrong. And if someone tells me that anyone who questions that 5-year-olds should be put on gender hormone therapy, if someone tells me that anyone who questions that is an evil, unforgivable bigot, I'm going to tell them they're wrong. I have no loyalty to the synthetic left. I have no duty to help them protect their system and impose their degrowth on working families. I have no reason to do that. No reason to protect them. They don't want us, we don't want them. Out of the movement to the masses. Yeah.